Montana Territory, 1878. Winter had settled early across the open range, and with it came a silence that seemed to drift like the snowfall across the land. Isaac Lawson stood on the weathered porch of his modest ranch house, watching his breath cloud in the frigid air. At 25, his shoulders already carried the weight of a man twice his age. The mountains loomed in the distance, silent sentinels that had witnessed his triumphs and failures with equal indifference. The frontier is no place for love, Isaac muttered to himself, a mantra he had adopted 3 years prior when fever had claimed his young wife. Just survival. His lean frame and strong jaw belied the emptiness that had hollowed him out since her passing. Despite his youth, fine features, and the light stubble that framed his face, Isaac moved like a man who had forgotten how to hope. What he wanted was simple: to maintain the small cattle operation he had built, to honor his promise to Caroline by making something of this wild place. What he needed, connection, healing, a reason to smile again, remained buried beneath grief as impenetrable as the frozen ground. The sound of hooves broke the morning stillness. Isaac squinted against the glare of sun on snow, watching as a weathered wagon approached, pulled by a team of exhausted horses. He reached for his rifle more from habit than genuine concern. Visitors were rare this far out, especially as winter tightened its grip. The driver, a grizzled old man he recognized from town, pulled the team to a halt. "Lawson," the man called, his voice carrying across the yard, "got a situation here." Isaac approached cautiously. "What kind of situation, Harmon?" The old man gestured toward the back of the wagon. "Stage got held up 3 days back. Bandits killed everyone except these little ones. Their folks were heading to Oregon." The tarp in the wagon bed shifted, and 3 small faces peered out. "You made a funny face," she explained, her expression instantly solemn again, as though laughter might be forbidden. "Did I?" Isaac asked, deliberately crossing his eyes until the giggle returned, joined now by Sarah's bubbling laughter. Even William, determined to maintain his guard, couldn't resist a smile. That night, Isaac lay awake, listening to the children breathing in the room he had cleared for them. Something uncomfortable was taking root in his chest: attachment, concern, the very connections he had sworn to avoid. These children would leave come spring. Their aunt would arrive, and his solitude would return. It was better that way, safer. The frontier took what you loved, teaching harsh lessons about attachment. He had learned his with Caroline, paid for it with sleepless nights and a hollowness that never quite filled. March arrived with unexpected warmth, melting snow from the pastures and revealing the first green shoots beneath. Isaac received word that the mountain passes would likely clear by mid-April. He folded the telegram carefully, uncertain why the news sat like lead in his stomach. The sound of hooves on the thawing earth came one crisp morning as Isaac and the children tended the vegetable garden they had planted together. A single rider approached, and beside him the children tensed. "Is it Aunt Zara?" Emma asked, shading her eyes. But the rider was male, the local postmaster's son. "Got a letter for you, Mr. Lawson, and bad news, I'm afraid. Telegraph came yesterday about the Lawrence woman." Isaac's pulse quickened. "What about her?" "Died of influenza 2 weeks past. Town of Silverton sent word." The news hit like a physical blow, not for his sake but for the 3 small figures who had frozen beside him, their faces registering the world collapsing once more. "Thank you," Isaac managed, accepting the letter, the official notice, he presumed. "That will be all." That night, after the children had finally fallen into exhausted sleep, Isaac sat alone by the dying fire, the unopened letter heavy in his hands. These children had no one now. No relatives, no destination, only an orphanage in Helena waiting to separate them. The thought twisted something vital inside him. In the brief months since their arrival, they had breathed life back into corners of his home and heart he had deliberately abandoned. William's determination on horseback, Emma's careful stitching beside the fire, Sarah's hand trustingly in his as they walked the property's boundaries, these had become the markers of his days. Isaac broke the seal on the letter, expecting official correspondence about the children's fate. Instead, elegant handwriting flowed across the page, to Mr. Isaac Lawson. "I pray this reaches you before I do. I am Zara Lawrence, aunt to William, Emma, and Sarah. The mountain passes have delayed me terribly, but I have secured passage and should arrive by mid-April, weather permitting. I cannot express my gratitude for your care of my sister's children during this tragic time. I look forward to meeting the man who has shown such kindness to those who have lost everything. With sincere appreciation, Zara Lawrence. Isaac read the letter twice, confusion giving way to understanding. The telegraph had been wrong. Their aunt was alive, was coming. Relief and an unexpected disappointment warred within him as he carefully folded the letter and placed it in his shirt pocket, close to his heart. April 12th dawned clear and mild, the kind of day that promised summer's eventual return. Isaac had spent the previous week in a flurry of preparation, repairing the spare room, instructing the children on their best behavior, fighting the hollow feeling that expanded with each passing day. They were gathered around the midday meal when hoofbeats announced a visitor. William was first to the window, his expression a complex mixture of excitement and uncertainty. "Is it her?" Emma whispered, clutching her sister's hand. Isaac moved to the door, steeling himself for the woman who would take away the unexpected family he had found. The figure dismounting in the yard was tall and slender, dressed in a practical riding habit of deep blue. As she removed her hat, a cascade of honey-blonde hair caught the sunlight. "Mr. Lawson," she called, her voice clear and steady. "I'm Zara Lawrence." At 22, Zara Lawrence carried herself with a quiet confidence that belied her youth. Her face, finely featured and touched by the sun of her journey, was beautiful in a way that demanded notice rather than asked for it. But it was her eyes that arrested Isaac, warm brown and direct, assessing him with equal parts gratitude and caution. "Miss Lawrence," he managed, extending his hand, "we received word you had passed." A shadow crossed her face. "My traveling companion succumbed to influenza. There was confusion about which of us had died." She glanced past him to where three small faces peered from the doorway. "Are they?" Her voice broke then, the composure cracking to reveal the worry beneath. The children rushed forward as one, Emma and Sarah flinging themselves into her arms while William approached more cautiously, studying this stranger who was supposedly family. "You look like Mama," he finally said, his voice small. Zara's smile trembled. "She was my older sister, the prettiest one, everyone said." "You're pretty too," Emma offered earnestly. Isaac stood apart, watching the reunion with a curious ache. They belonged with her, of course. She was blood, the connection they needed. Yet the thought of his home returning to silence felt suddenly unbearable. "You must be exhausted from your journey," he said, finding his voice. "Please come inside, we were just having dinner." The meal that followed was unlike any in Isaac's memory. The children competed for their aunt's attention, recounting their adventures on the ranch with animated detail. Isaac watched, contributing occasionally, struck by how Zara listened with complete attention to each child, her genuine laughter warming the room. "And Mr. Lawson made us a swing from the big oak tree," Sarah announced importantly. "And he reads stories every night, even when his eyes get sleepy." Zara's gaze met his across the table, something soft and appreciative in her expression. "It sounds as though you've been extraordinarily kind, Mr. Lawson." "Isaac," he corrected, surprising himself, "and they're good children, it hasn't been a hardship." Later, with the children finally asleep, Isaac and Zara sat by the fire, the comfortable silence occasionally broken by the crackling flames. "I don't know how to thank you," she said finally. "When I received word about my sister and her husband, I was frantic thinking of the children alone in this wilderness." "They weren't alone," Isaac replied, more defensively than he'd intended. Zara studied him, her head tilted slightly. "No, they found you instead, Providence perhaps. Or just geography, mine was the closest ranch to where it happened. And yet you took in 3 strange children when many would have sent them straight to an orphanage." She leaned forward. "Why did you?" The question caught him unprepared. "I'm not sure I had a choice." "There's always a choice, Isaac." His name on her lips sounded different somehow, especially on the frontier, where no one would have judged you for choosing differently. Isaac stared into the fire, avoiding her perceptive gaze. "I lost my wife 3 years ago, fever. We'd been married just over a year." He hadn't spoken of Caroline to anyone in so long, the words felt strange in his mouth. She wanted children. "Never got the chance." Understanding dawned in Zara's expression. "I'm sorry, truly." "It was a long time ago." "Not so very long," she observed quietly. "Grief doesn't measure itself in ordinary time." The simple truth of her words unlocked something in his chest. For the first time, Isaac found himself telling the story of Caroline, of their dreams for the ranch, of the isolation he had chosen after her death. Zara listened without interruption, her face reflecting his pain without pity. When he finally fell silent, she spoke softly. The children have lost so much, but in finding you perhaps they gained something essential. And now they have you, Isaac said, the words both acknowledgement and question. Yes, Zara looked toward the room where her nieces and nephew slept. Though I confess I'm terrified. I was a schoolteacher in Silverton. I know books and lessons, but practical matters of raising children. I have much to learn. You'll manage, Isaac assured her, surprised by his certainty. They already adore you. She smiled, a flash of vulnerability crossing her features. I've arranged to purchase a small property near Helena. Nothing grand, but enough for a garden and perhaps some chickens. The children should have stability after everything. Isaac nodded, ignoring the hollowness expanding beneath his ribs. When will you leave? The property won't be ready until month's end. I was hoping, she hesitated. If it's not an imposition, might we stay until then? I would compensate you, of course. No compensation needed, Isaac said quickly. You're welcome to stay as long as necessary. Relief softened her features. Thank you. It would give the children time to adjust to the idea of another move. That night, as Isaac lay in bed listening to the familiar sounds of his home, now filled with the gentle breathing of 4 additional souls, he confronted the truth he had been avoiding. These children, and now their beautiful, perceptive aunt, had awakened something he had thought permanently extinguished. The question was whether he had the courage to acknowledge it. The following weeks unfolded in unexpected harmony. Zara proved as capable as she was beautiful, throwing herself into ranch life with enthusiasm that compensated for her inexperience. She learned to collect eggs without getting pecked, helped Isaac mend fences, and spent evenings teaching the children to read by firelight. Isaac found himself watching her when she wasn't looking, the graceful way she moved, the thoughtful furrow between her brows when concentrating, the unguarded laugh that transformed her face entirely. Each observation added to a dangerous warmth growing within him. You're different with her here, William commented one afternoon as they repaired a saddle together. Isaac glanced at the boy, surprised. Different how? William considered, his young face serious. You smile more and you talk more. He threaded the leather carefully as Isaac had taught him. Aunt Zara smiles at you a lot too. Isaac cleared his throat, uncomfortable with the boy's perception. Miss Lawrence is just being polite. William gave him a look that suggested he wasn't fooled. She likes it here. She told Emma and me that this feels more like a home than anywhere since Mama and Papa died. The simple statement lodged somewhere deep in Isaac's chest. Home, it had been so long since he'd thought of his ranch that way. A place of work, of solitude, of survival, yes. But home suggested warmth, connection, the very things he had convinced himself he no longer needed or deserved. That evening, Isaac found Zara alone on the porch, watching the sunset paint the distant mountains in gold and crimson. The sight of her, silhouetted against the fading light, made his breath catch. The children are finally asleep, she said as he joined her. Sarah insisted on 3 stories tonight. She's always been the negotiator of the group. Zara laughed softly, their remarkable children, so resilient. She turned to face him, her expression earnest. You've given them that, Isaac, stability when they needed it most. They've given me something too, he admitted, surprising himself with the confession. Before they came, this place was just existing, not living. And no. The question hung between them, weighted with possibilities neither had acknowledged. Isaac found himself stepping closer, drawn by something he couldn't name. Now it feels like it might be worth building something again, he said quietly. Zara's eyes searched his, something hopeful and vulnerable in her gaze. The children will miss this place terribly. Miss you terribly. And you, the question escaped before he could reconsider. A flush colored her cheeks. I've only just found you, Isaac Lawson, leaving feels premature. The confession, gentle as it was, broke something loose inside him. Isaac reached for her hand, half expecting her to pull away. Instead, her fingers twined with his, warm and certain. Perhaps you don't have to, he suggested, heart thundering in his chest. The words had barely left his mouth when a rider appeared at the edge of the property, approaching fast. Isaac reluctantly released Zara's hand, recognizing the distinctive silhouette of Marshal Jenkins from town. Trouble, he murmured. The marshal reined his horse to a stop, his expression grave. Lawson, Miss Lawrence, glad I found you both. What's happened? Isaac asked, tension gathering between his shoulders. Jenkins dismounted, removing his hat. Got a telegram from Silverton today. Seems Miss Lawrence here is being sought for questioning regarding funds missing from the school where she taught. Zara gasped, "That's preposterous. I've never taken anything in my life." "The telegram suggests otherwise, ma'am. Says you left town suddenly, right after the school board discovered the shortfall." Isaac looked between them, confusion and the first threads of doubt weaving through his mind. She stepped back, creating distance between them. "If you'll excuse me, I should check on the children." Isaac watched her go, the connection they'd been building suddenly fragile as spring ice. He remained on the porch long after she disappeared inside, wrestling with doubt and the unwelcome realization that he'd begun to care far too much. The following morning brought tension thick as summer heat. Zara moved through breakfast preparations with mechanical efficiency, avoiding Isaac's gaze. The children, sensitive to the changed atmosphere, ate quietly, exchanging worried glances. When Marshal Jenkins arrived, Isaac took the children fishing at the creek, giving Zara privacy for her statement. William protested, clearly sensing something amiss, but eventually relented when Isaac promised they wouldn't be gone long. The hour they spent by the water was the longest of Isaac's life. His mind churned with possibilities, each more painful than the last. If Zara was guilty, what would happen to the children? To the tentative connection that had been growing between them, and if she was innocent, would his doubt have damaged something precious beyond repair? When they returned to the ranch, Jenkins was mounting his horse. The marshal nodded to Isaac, his expression unreadable. "Miss Lawrence has given her statement. I'll be telegraphing Silverton for confirmation." "And until then," Isaac asked, "until then nothing changes." "But she shouldn't leave the territory." Jenkins settled his hat firmly. "Good day, Lawson." Isaac found Zara in the kitchen, her back straight as she kneaded bread with more force than necessary. The children, sensing the adults needed privacy, had taken themselves outside to play. "What did you tell him?" Isaac asked quietly. "The truth," she replied, not looking up. "That I left Silverton with the school board's blessing and knowledge, that the school treasurer, Mr. Holloway, handled all funds, not me. That I never had access to any money beyond my own salary," her hands stilled, "and that I came here for the children, nothing more." The last statement carried a weight that hung in the air between them. Isaac moved closer, wanting to bridge the distance his doubt had created. "Zara, You don't need to explain," she interrupted. "Your caution is reasonable. These children have already lost so much." "You're protecting them." "Yes, but I'm also—" A shout from outside cut him off, William's voice high with alarm. Isaac and Zara both rushed to the door to find the boy running toward the house, panic clear on his face. "Mr. Lawson." "There's riders coming, men with guns." Isaac's hand went instinctively to his belt, but he'd left his revolver inside. "Get in the house," he ordered, ushering the boy ahead of him. "Zara, where are the girls?" "By the chicken coop," she said, already moving in that direction. "I'll get them." Isaac grabbed his rifle from above the fireplace, then stepped back onto the porch. 4 riders approached, their horses at a walk, confident and unhurried. The lead rider, a man with a shock of white blonde hair beneath his hat, raised a hand in greeting that didn't match the cold assessment in his eyes. "That's far enough," Isaac called when they were within hearing distance. "State your business." The blonde man smiled thinly. "Looking for a woman, Zara Lawrence, heard she might be in these parts." Isaac's grip tightened on his rifle. "Who's asking?" "Name's Fletcher. Miss Lawrence and I have some unfinished business from Silverton." The pieces clicked into terrible place. "You're Holloway, the treasurer." Fletcher's smile widened. "Sharp man." "Yes, though I find Fletcher suits me better these days. Is she here?" "No one by that name here," Isaac lied, praying Zara had gotten the girls inside through the back door. Fletcher exchanged glances with his companions. "Now that's disappointing." "Because we rode a long way, and I know for certain she came this direction." His hand rested casually near his holstered revolver. "Maybe we should look around, just to be sure." "My land." "My say who comes and goes." Isaac raised his rifle slightly. "And I'm saying you go." The standoff stretched for a tense moment before Fletcher laughed, a sound without humor. "You're making a mistake, friend. That woman stole from me substantial funds that rightfully belonged to me." "Thought they belonged to the school," Isaac countered. Fletcher's expression hardened. Semantics, point is, she took what was mine and disappeared. Now I've tracked her here, and I'm not leaving without what I came for. There's a marshal investigating the matter officially. If she's found guilty, the law will handle it. The law, Fletcher spat, out here. We both know justice moves too slow if it moves at all. He studied Isaac with renewed interest. Unless you've got personal reasons for protecting her. Pretty woman like that can turn a man's head, make him forget his good sense. Isaac said nothing, aware that every moment he kept Fletcher talking was another moment for Zara and the children to secure themselves inside. Tell you what, Fletcher continued, hand over the woman and whatever money she has left and we'll call it square. No need for anyone to get hurt. Like I said, she's not here. And even if she was, I wouldn't hand her over to the likes of you. Fletcher sighed dramatically. Have it your way, he nodded to his companions. Burn him out, she'll show herself when the house goes up. The men began to dismount, and Isaac knew the moment for talking had passed. He fired a warning shot over their heads, sending the horses skittering nervously. Next one won't miss, he promised. What followed was a chaos of gunfire and shouted orders. Isaac took cover behind a water trough as bullets splintered the porch where he'd been standing. He returned fire methodically, conserving ammunition, aware that he was outnumbered and outgunned. A movement at the side of the house caught his attention. William crouched and running toward the barn. The boy was trying to circle behind Fletcher's men. Isaac wanted to shout for him to get back, but doing so would only draw attention to the child. A bullet grazed Isaac's arm, tearing through his shirt sleeve and leaving a burning trail across his skin. He hissed through his teeth, returning fire and catching one of Fletcher's men in the leg. The man went down with a cry, clutching his bleeding thigh. You're just making this worse for yourself, Fletcher called from behind a large oak. And for her. Isaac was calculating his dwindling options when the sound of a shotgun blast cut through the gunfire. Fletcher's second man dropped his weapon, clutching his shoulder where buckshot had peppered him. Zara stood at the corner of the house, a double-barreled shotgun in her hands, her face set with determination. Enough, Fletcher, this is between us. Zara, get back inside, Isaac shouted, but she ignored him, stepping forward with the shotgun trained on Fletcher. Call off your remaining man, she demanded. Now. Fletcher emerged from behind the tree, his revolver lowered but still in his hand. Always did have spirit, Zara. It's why I noticed you in the first place. Call him off, she repeated. Fletcher raised his free hand and the gunfire ceased. The sudden silence seemed louder than the previous chaos. You know why I'm here, he said. Where's the money? There is no money, Fletcher. There never was. You embezzled from the school and tried to frame me when the board started asking questions. Fletcher's smile turned ugly. That's not how anyone else sees it. Far as Silverton's concerned, you're the thief who ran when caught, your word against mine, and who do you think they'll believe? The respected businessman or the schoolteacher who disappeared in the night. I left to find my family, Zara said, her voice steady despite the shotgun that trembled slightly in her hands. You know that. You used my tragedy as an opportunity. Isaac moved carefully to her side, his rifle still trained on Fletcher. It's over. The marshal already knows she's here. He'll be back by nightfall. Fletcher sneered. The marshal is a day's ride away, and accidents happen on the frontier all the time. 3 orphans losing their new guardian so soon after their parents, tragic but not suspicious. The threat hung in the air, undisguised and chilling. Isaac positioned himself slightly in front of Zara, his decision made. William, he called, not taking his eyes off Fletcher. I know you can hear me. Go to the house, get your sisters. Bar the door. He sensed rather than saw the boy's reluctant compliance, the sound of small boots retreating toward the house. Now, Isaac continued, here's what's going to happen. You and your men are getting on your horses and riding out. You're not coming back, and if I ever see you near my family again, I'll kill you where you stand. Fletcher's eyes narrowed at the word family, a calculation visibly working behind his eyes. She's not worth dying for, Lawson. Whatever she's told you. I know exactly who she is, Isaac interrupted. A woman of honor who came across a continent to save 3 children, not a thief, not a liar. Just someone who had the misfortune to cross your path. Zara's gaze shifted briefly to him, surprise and something deeper flickering across her face. Fletcher studied them both, weighing his options. His two men were wounded, one seriously. Isaac's rifle was steady and Zara's shotgun, though trembling, was still aimed at his chest. "This isn't finished," Fletcher finally said, backing toward his horse. "The law will sort it out, just like you said. And when it does, I'll be back for what's mine." "There's nothing here that belongs to you," Isaac replied evenly. "Never was." They maintained their aim as Fletcher and his remaining able-bodied man helped their wounded companion onto his horse. The tension didn't break until the riders had disappeared down the trail, dust settling in their wake. Only then did Isaac lower his rifle, turning to Zara. The shotgun slipped from her grasp as the adrenaline drained from her body, leaving her pale and shaking. "Are you hurt?" he asked urgently, scanning her for injuries. "No," she managed. "The children are safe." Isaac gestured toward the house, where three small faces peered anxiously from the window. "Thanks to you." Relief washed over her features, quickly followed by concern as she noticed the blood on his sleeve. "You're wounded." "Just a graze." He looked down the empty trail. "They'll be back." "Maybe not today, but Fletcher isn't the type to let things go." Zara nodded, the gravity of their situation settling between them. "I should leave, take the children somewhere he can't find us." "Or," Isaac said quietly, "you could stay. We could face this together." Her eyes met his, searching. "You believe me now about the money?" "I believe I was a fool to doubt you, even for a moment." He took her hand, uncaring of the blood or dust that covered them both. "The way you protected those children just now, that's who you are, Zara. Someone who puts others before herself, not a thief running from her crimes." "Fletcher has influence in these parts," she warned. "His version of events might be believed." "Then we'll make sure the truth is louder." Isaac's grip tightened on her hand. "I lost someone I loved once, and it nearly destroyed me. I closed myself off, convinced that the frontier was no place for love, that caring for others was just inviting more pain." He glanced toward the house, where the children were now emerging cautiously onto the porch. "But these past months have taught me I was wrong. Having something to protect, someone to fight for, that's what makes the frontier bearable. That's what makes it home." Zara's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Isaac." "I know it's fast," he continued, determined to speak his piece. "I know we've only just found each other, but I also know I don't want to lose you or those children. Not to Fletcher, not to Helena, not to anything." A tear spilled down her cheek. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying stay. Not just until this business with Fletcher is settled. Stay permanently. Let me help you raise those children. Let us build something here together." The words hung between them, a declaration and a question wrapped in one. For a moment Isaac feared he had misread everything, moved too quickly, asked too much. Then Zara stepped closer, her free hand coming up to touch his face. "I was so afraid," she admitted softly. "Afraid you wouldn't believe me. Afraid we'd have to leave the first place that's felt like home since my sister died." "You don't have to be afraid anymore," Isaac promised. "Whatever comes, we'll face it together." Her smile, tentative at first, bloomed into something radiant. "Together," she echoed. "I like the sound of that." The distance between them vanished as Isaac pulled her close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that held promise and certainty. It was William's exaggerated gagging noise that finally separated them, both turning to find the children watching with varying degrees of interest and disgust. "Does this mean we're staying?" Emma asked hopefully. Zara looked to Isaac, a question in her eyes. He nodded, his decision unwavering. "Yes," she told the children, "if that's what you all want." William stepped forward, his young face serious. "Are you going to marry Mr. Lawson?" The directness of the question startled a laugh from both adults. Isaac recovered first, dropping to one knee to meet the boy at eye level. He turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. Someone with experience and dedication, someone who understands both books and children. Understanding dawned in her expression. "You think I should apply?" "I think you should do whatever makes you happy," Isaac said earnestly. "Teach or stay home with the children or both. Whatever you choose, I'll support you." Zara's smile was radiant. "And if teaching would make me happy, then I'll make sure you get to that schoolhouse every morning, and I'll welcome you home every afternoon." He hesitated, then dropped to one knee, drawing a simple gold band from his pocket. "If you'll have me as your husband, that is." Zara's hand flew to her mouth, eyes widening. Isaac. I know we agreed to wait, but I can't imagine my life without you now. Without all of you, he held the ring up, sunlight catching on its polished surface. Zara Lawrence, will you marry me? Will you help me raise those children and any others we might be blessed with? Will you build a life with me on this land that's finally become a home because you're here? Her answer was in her smile, in the tears that spilled freely down her cheeks as she nodded, in the way she pulled him to his feet and into her arms. Yes, she whispered against his lips, yes to all of it. Their kiss was a promise, sealed with the setting sun as witness. Behind them, the sound of children's voices carried on the evening breeze, William calling for them to hurry back for supper, Emma and Sarah's laughter bright as silver bells. Isaac held Zara close, marveling at how completely his life had transformed in less than a year. The frontier, once a place of lonely survival, had become the setting for something miraculous, a second chance, a family forged through shared hardship and growing love. We should get back, Zara murmured, though she made no move to leave his embrace. They'll be wondering where we've gone. Let them wonder, Isaac replied, brushing a strand of golden hair from her face. We have the rest of our lives to be responsible parents. Zara laughed, the sound carrying across the land that would nurture their family for generations to come. The rest of our lives, she repeated. I like the sound of that. Hand in hand, they walked back toward the house where 3 children waited, no longer orphans, no longer alone. The frontier had taken much from each of them, but in the end it had given back far more, a family, a future, a love strong enough to heal even the deepest wounds.